Hi everyone, this is Makai Costa with the Athlete section. Today we have a special guest who is an Oregon alum and was on the track and field team for hammer and weight throw. And I'll let her introduce herself.
Hey everyone, thanks so much, Micaiah, for having me today. My name is Sydnee Walker. I'm from Georgia. I did hammer and weight throw at the University of Oregon. I finished number 7 all time in the top 10, and I also graduated with a BA in journalism and PR.
There we go. Nice. Okay, statistics. Love that. Like she mentioned, she's a Georgia native and she currently works for the Ace Pickleball Club. She was formerly with TNT Sports doing their marketing and social media. And along with that, content creation and marketing, she also owns a company called The Collaborative, which you're going to get into. And she connects a lot of sports professionals with aspiring journalists and other sports professionals as well. So I'm really excited to have you on here and talk about it.
Of course, thanks so much for having me.
Of course. So, first, before we get started with the beginning of where everything started, we have to address that Oregon is number one in college football right now, and in their division, just going into the Big Ten after leaving the Pac-12. How does that feel for you as an Oregon alum? I know you must be very excited about that.
Oh yes, go Ducks. I am super happy that we're number 1, although we do have the hardest path to reach the national championship, which is unfortunate, but I'm hoping we can pull through and end up in Atlanta in January. But it's been a really exciting time for me and all my friends who graduated from Oregon, so it's just really cool to see us number 1 week after week.
Yeah, that is very impressive as well. And you're right, they do have a pretty hard path. I was looking at the bracket yesterday and I was like, dang, they did not make it easy for them.
So next round we'll play either Ohio State or
Ohio
Tennessee, and
State
we've
too.
already played Ohio State, so they'll have some
Yeah.
revenge if we end up playing them again.
Yes, dang. That's gonna be a very interesting matchup, but that's very exciting. Do you go to a lot of like watch parties or anything like that with your friends to watch the Ducks?
I do. We have an Atlanta Ducks alumni chapter, so a lot of people that went to Oregon are living in the area, and we'll meet up and watch a few home games a year.
That's nice. I went to one of my alum chapters in Atlanta as well. Just one. And it was actually the first game that we lost for Georgia. We played against Alabama
Oh,
this season, and that was the first watch party me and my friend went to. And yeah, I was like, yeah, this is just tough, but we'll be back to another one at some point. So
definitely.
so now let's get into you. I want to know about your journey and your lifestyle. So I guess starting off with how everything started, what was your beginning path for you? What kind of sparked your ignition for sports first and foremost, but then also just the field events and track and field in general?
Yeah, so I played sports my whole life growing up. I did soccer, volleyball, basketball, and a lot of other sports. And throughout high school, I was playing club volleyball. That's actually the sport I thought I would play in college. And then the end of my sophomore year, my mom found a throwing camp in Marietta, Georgia called Throw One Deep. And originally, I only knew about shot put and discus because those were the popular events. So then they gave me a hammer and told me I would be good at it. And I ended up picking it up rather quickly, and things just started to blossom from there. So people always ask me, how did I get into throwing? I'm like, I really don't have that great of a story. Just my coach said, here's a hammer, you're going to be great at it. And it really took off rather quickly.
Wow, that is really neat though. I like stories like that. There's like certain stories I watch where it's like, okay, they have like a whole like path, a whole journey, but there's some that's like, no, I was just, good. I just found it kind of found me. So I guess, hammer throwing found you in a sense. So that's pretty neat.
It did. And when I was getting recruited by different schools, originally I wanted to stay close to home so my parents could come see me and come to all my meets because that was what I was used to and I wanted them nearby. But then I ended up taking my last visit to the University of Oregon and I just fell in love with it. I knew they had a great track program and then I knew they had a great journalism school. So it was the best of both worlds. I knew strong academics and strong athletics. I couldn't ask for anything more. And I didn't think I would end up 23 or 3,000 miles away from home, but I felt like it was a great opportunity to try something new. I could always come home, which I ended up doing after I graduated, but going to Oregon was an amazing experience. I loved it.
Wow. I was actually gonna ask that as my next question. And you kind of touched on it already, but your experience in Oregon, how was um the process of choosing the schools. Like, what schools did you tour, and what kind of like stood out to you to make Oregon your top choice? Well, amongst other schools. Then also, what were the adjustments that you had to make going from Atlanta to Oregon? Like, what are some of the common adjustments and some things you didn't realize would be such a difference?
Yeah, so to touch on the first part, I heard from a lot of different schools, and always in my mind, I knew D1 Power 5, so I was really focusing on all the Power 5 schools. But I did tour some smaller schools because I came from a small private school, so I was used to a very small environment, not too many people, a good student to teacher ratio. So I toured a few smaller schools. I went to Elon and Liberty University because they had similar backgrounds of what I was used to. And then my third visit was to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I thought I was done after that. I fell in love with UNC. Obviously, they have an amazing journalism program. I love that Carolina blue. I loved everything about it. I thought I was sold on that. And then my last visit obviously ended up being Oregon. And I just got that gut feeling. I was like, this is the place to be. I
Mm,
loved it. I really enjoyed all the people I met. That track program was strong, journalism program was strong. I just felt like it would be a great opportunity to explore the West Coast, meet new people, really challenge myself. And I ended up being really prepared once I got there because my school was very rigorous. I was prepared. I was traveling every weekend for different track meets and stuff and having to keep up with my academics. So it was kind of like a mini introduction to college. So once I got
mm,
on the campus freshman year, I really hit the ground running. I was able to take upper division classes as a freshman because my high school curriculum was so rigorous. So I felt like I was really prepared once I got there. And obviously, it was a very huge culture shock going from Georgia to Oregon. It's a whole complete different way of life out there, and people do things differently than what we do in the South. But just getting used to the way of life out there, not having small things like not having the same restaurants we have. They didn't have a Chick-fil-A, which I was big on at the time, and
right.
other restaurants. Just getting accustomed to healthy living. They're really big on Thai, Indian, vegan food. So just learning how that goes and getting used to public transportation. So I think it was just a really great way to develop more life skills.
Wow, that's a nice perspective to have too when you're going from such a different atmosphere and campuses. So that's nice that you was able to migrate to that and kind of adapt that mindset early on.
Absolutely.
Was it always the plan to come back to Georgia, or did it just kind of happen for you?
It was. I love Atlanta. I feel like we have everything from sports, music, food,
Really?
entertainment. So I felt like it was fine to do my 4 years out there, but I always wanted to come back home.
Mm, that's nice. I think early on, I was just so sick and tired of like being in Georgia. I don't even know why. I was like, I don't know, Georgia's just Georgia. It's just here. But I don't know. After going to UGA and just, I guess, growing up a little bit more in Atlanta, I really have started to appreciate Georgia a little bit more. I guess, like you said, the culture, the sports, the atmosphere. Like, I mean, there's a lot of great other atmospheres and cultures as well throughout the states. But I feel like, Atlanta, Georgia in general is just the top of the top. Like, you can't really beat it.
Yeah, exactly. And at my school, pretty much everyone went to UGA. So a lot of people didn't think I would make it so far away from home because everyone just stayed nearby.
Yeah.
And even most people from high school still live in the area. So even when I graduated, people asked me, did I make it all 4 years out there? I'm like, yeah, and I
Yeah,
loved it.
sure did. That's neat. That's really neat though. That's really fun 'cause I've never my cousin actually goes to the University of Oregon, but I haven't spoken to her in a minute to ask her exactly like how she's been enjoying it and everything. So I'm gonna probably reach out to her soon because I know she must be excited as well with y'all doing so well in football and just track and field for Oregon has also been doing really well. Um, what's her Mackenzie Mays? Or no, I know Mays is her last name, I think. But I
Oh,
know
Jaden Mays.
Jaden Mays, there you go. Yeah. I know she's been doing pretty well. My siblings are all big track heads, track and field. They love
Oh,
it.
nice.
Yeah. My brother is running for the University of Georgia now. He's a freshman. So when they start their season, he's gonna be there. Um, and all my other little siblings are doing track and field as well. Well, mostly just track. My other brother did long jump. And I'm the only sibling out of all of them who did every sport for the most part except track. And
Oh,
yeah, I know. And my parents told me to this day, you should have put you in track. Like you would have been good. Like we don't know where you would have
yeah.
been. And there's like a small little inkling of me like, where would I have been if I actually did track and like actually liked running or even wanted to participate in the field events? Like the high jump, the long jump, all that looks really fun to me. Like I love watching it, but I just can't picture myself out there doing it. I don't know what it is.
It's okay. You can support now.
There we go, support, like I see so many opportunities within like the track and field world. My parents are like, see there, all this talk about track and field we've been doing, you didn't want to listen to. Now you find yourself full circle looking into opportunities. Like, I guess. But that's really cool. I like that story though. And I like that you're back in Georgia and now you're here with the collaborative, which we're gonna talk about in a minute. You mentioned that you played volleyball, club volleyball as well. What club did you play for?
I played at A5 in Cobb, Atlanta.
Okay, I was thinking you was gonna say A5 because I knew that was a pretty popular one out there.
Oh yeah.
We have A5 South where I am, and I used to train with them, but A5 was that elite level. Like if you see me play for A5, I was like, oh, you must be good. So I like
Well,
so
even I,
appreciate that.
yeah, even when I was playing, they had A5 South and GA5, so everyone was
Yeah,
pretty connected.
yes. So I knew that was a really popular one. So that's pretty cool. Wow, did you? Because I love volleyball. Like volleyball has always been my favorite sport to play and watch. I played for I don't know if you probably heard of them. They're no longer in existence, but the Atlanta Boom.
Oh
And
yes,
yeah,
yes. We played against them all the time.
yes, I played for Atlanta Boom when I was 13. I was on a 14s team. My experience was okay. It was all right. But A5 and Tsunami were the ones I was looking into next. And there's also I think Atlanta Performance, but it was Kiba Phipps volleyball, I think at first.
Oh yep.
But yeah, so I was trained by her for a little bit before she moved. But volleyball, yeah, some people like start mentioning volleyball in Georgia that already like piques my interest. Like, oh, really? Where'd you play? So
And
that's
as you know, club volleyball is a whole different world, just dealing with the parents and the politics of it all. So it's another
oh
world
yeah,
out there.
it definitely is. Club volleyball is actually my first well, not my first introduction to volleyball. It was I did like a little camp at a local church, but that was my first time ever like playing the sport in club volleyball. So we didn't know any different. But once I started seeing that like school volleyball and club volleyball was two different things, I was like, wow, this is like day and night. It's so
Right.
interesting. So much involvement goes in club as well. When you started throwing in track and field, did you do that and volleyball at the same time, or did you have to like make a choice for which one you wanted to stick with?
I transitioned fully to track and field, so I ended volleyball the season prior, and then I picked up track and field 100%.
Did you ever miss it? Did you ever kind of go back and be like, wow, like I wonder what would have happened if I would have stuck with volleyball, or do you kind of feel like, nah, this is the right decision?
Sometimes I did, but in the end, I think it was definitely the right decision. There was more opportunities in track and field.
Yeah, that's true. Track and field has many great opportunities. So many, I guess, positions to shine in. So that's really nice.
Definitely.
What are some misconceptions that are out there for field events in general? Because I know that a lot of the times when we're watching track and field streams, they show a lot of the track and they might do some mentions of the field, unless there's like a shining star out there. They don't mention it as much as the track and field events or give them a lot of screen time. So, what are some misconceptions and things that you think are out there for field events, and how do you think it should change moving forward?
I feel like a lot of people think field events don't put in as much work as a track because obviously the track events are very shiny. And like if we're watching the Olympics, hammer throw or shot put will get like 5 seconds and they go back to the
Right.
steeplechase or something else going on the track.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people think we're just really misrepresented. And I would love if people knew more about the field events because we are a lot of fun. We put in a lot of work. And usually at meets, we're the first to throw. So people really don't pay attention to us because we're at 8, 9, 10 a.m. and the track events are later on. So I think just letting people know that field events do work very hard. There is a lot of demand on the field side. There's so many events, like you mentioned, long jump, triple jump, high jump, pole vault, and all the throws. So there is a lot out there.
Yeah, I agree. Because I know we'll watch you like, dang, like we wish you would kind of like, 'cause we'll see them in the background, like, oh, y'all want to zoom in a little bit so we can see
Exactly.
what they're doing. But yeah, like they do put in a lot of work, and just to obtain so many titles, even like you have, like that's a lot to put into it. So it would be nice if they kind of like showcase that a little bit more as well, especially with the growth of track and field now. They have their own documentary on Netflix. They're having their own more pro teams. And so it's like with this new coverage that's getting shined on the sport, you would hope that also the field events also get that same shine, if not more, at some point. So I believe it will.
Exactly, and even just looking at the most recent Olympics, Valerie Allman won back-to-back gold in the discus, and that's someone I competed against in college. And I'm sure not many people even know who she is. So just something like that. The field events are killing it. And on the long jump side, Tara Davis Woodhall, she got gold.
Is
So the women are really doing it up on the field side. The men are doing it up. So it's really an exciting time for the field events.
I agree. I agree for sure. So I want to talk now about your company, The Collaborative. It started in 2020. How what was the whole thought process in starting this? I know that in 2020, which is COVID, there's a lot of people trying to start businesses and companies or growing on social media. And I feel like everybody started kind of knowing what they should tap into based off their like interests and passions. So what developed that passion for you to start the collaborative, and how, I guess, was your journey throughout the process?
Yeah, so I started the collaborative in 2020, and we are focused on connecting seasoned veterans in the sports and entertainment industry with aspiring journalists and PR professionals via virtual and in person fireside chats. So, this started at the beginning of COVID. I was thinking of ways to keep myself busy, and I noticed there was an educational gap between what you learn in school and actually getting hands on experience.
Mm,
So, when I went to college, all I knew was sideline reporting. So, I was thinking, hey, I'll be the next sideline reporter on ESPN. And then my sophomore year of college, I took a tour at Turner Sports for an event they had on their Atlanta campus. And that's where I learned there was social media, marketing, PR, production, and all these other fields that I had no idea about. So I was just thinking, this is my first time hearing about all these avenues in sports. I'm sure there's other students in the same boat because I know a lot of schools really only preach about sideline reporting and
right.
broadcast journalism. So I thought the collaborative would be a great idea to connect those students with these veterans, maybe learn tricks that they didn't know beforehand that they could pass on to the next generation, just pick up more skills. So the very first session was with Spencer Paysinger in 2020, who actually played football at Oregon, and he wrote All American. It's based on his life. So he was the very first one. We had the Oregon connection. Then just kind of took off from there. Since 2020, we've had over 55 guests, ranging from Maria Taylor to Marcus Spears, Laura Rutledge, and current and former professional athletes. And I think it's just really a great experience for all these people to learn from them. And like one great example I always bring up, we had Bob Rathbun, who's a play-by-play announcer for the Atlanta Hawks. And on
Yeah.
his session, he said one thing he wished he would have done when he was in school was take Spanish, because a lot of players in the NBA are foreign and they speak Spanish. And it's great when you can ask them a question in their language and they don't have to kind of learn English and be put on the spot. So after
Mhm.
that, a few people picked up Spanish and saying, oh, that's something great I would have never known if I didn't hear from someone to this caliber. So I really think people just attending these sessions and also the in person career sessions is really just a great opportunity for students and young professionals.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't even know how I heard about the collaborative. I don't know if I just saw it one time on LinkedIn. I saw it somewhere I saw, maybe Twitter. Somewhere I saw it and I was like, oh wait, what's this? And I think it was like last summer. Um, and I saw that the first event that I saw was the Atlanta Braves
Yeah.
tour, and I was like, oh, I want to see if I can go to that because I was like, it was a lot going on that summer, but I really wanted to go check it out to kind of meet you and meet the people in the group and just kind of like get my face out there and join the collaborative officially. And it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, connected with people on LinkedIn, learned just about different industry, just tips and advice to kind of take with you with your career search. And you're right, like I feel like in the beginning when I realized I wanted to do sports journalism, I knew that I didn't want to primarily do writing. Um, but the only other thing that I knew of was sideline reporting. So in my about me page for my portfolio, I put down, okay, I want to be an aspiring sports sideline reporter. And actually, I just looked back at my portfolio today and changed it because I was like, I didn't realize this was still on there because I feel like just the whole aspect of media in general with sports is very important. And there's so many jobs opportunities that we don't even know about that are people are just making opportunities. So I think definitely through your company and through just learning a little bit more about it with these industry professionals and even with you and your job, it's very interesting and important to know that there's more out there for you than just the typical, not typical as in like as nothing, but typical like what you usually hear, like either you're a writer or a broadcaster.
Right, and I feel like so many people get siloed in on working for a team or league, but there's so many sports adjacent careers now. Like you
Mhm.
see State Farm is really popular with athletes, so although you may be working in insurance, you could be on the sports side doing commercials with NBA and WNBA players, and a lot of
Exactly.
athletes have their own foundation, so even
Mhm.
just doing marketing or PR for them, there's so many adjacent careers you can go into and still be on the sports side without being directly working for a team or league.
That's so true. Because when people ask me, before graduating, so do you know who you want to work for? Do you know what team you want to work for? I usually just gave them that. I don't know, maybe like a team or like a company. I don't know which one yet, but it's like that. Don't put yourself in that box. There's so many like sports adjacent and so many clubs you can work for that you don't even realize is out there and providing the opportunity and experience. So I really like that there's so many like ample possibilities out there with that.
Yeah, I agree.
With being the CEO and founder of the collaborative, what are some challenges that you've had to overcome to make this successful? And what are some things behind the scene things that people don't realize that you have to go through in order to keep this up and just make it successful?
Yeah, for the first part, I think it's always a challenge to host events out of state because I'm usually not there. Obviously, Atlanta's home base, so those are easier to get up and running. But when I'm coordinating stuff in different cities, for example, we've hosted events in New York and LA, and I'm usually at home just waiting on texts and calls, people trying to figure out where to go. So
Oh,
sometimes that's a challenge because I'm not on there, so I don't really know exactly where they are in the building. We're just
yeah,
making sure everything's going smoothly with the point of contact there. So that's definitely one of the challenges, just trying to coordinate across the country. And something that people may not know is that I put a lot of hours into this, although I do work a 9 to 5 as well. I treat this just like a normal job. I'm constantly securing guests months in advance, doing
mhm,
all the graphics, managing all the socials, editing everything for YouTube, constantly reaching out to students and professionals, planning events. So there's a lot of work that goes into it.
yeah. I can imagine. It's like I don't know, just being a one woman show can be very challenging because I feel like one thing when you kind of seeing these celebrities doing their own thing or having their own foundation, having their own podcast, and it's like I know they're putting in a lot of work, but as women who are doing our own thing and have to, like you said, manage the graphics on our own, do the marketing, get the guests secure, all of that, the newsletter, all that stuff is like that's so many jobs in one to kind of manage.
Right.
So and then you also are also working. So it's like all of that plus you're working. That's a lot. A lot of time management goes into that.
Exactly, but also with the collaborative, I'm all about giving others opportunities. I open it up for guest co-hosts, so we've had some students and professionals host their own virtual session, and I step away from that and just coach them up beforehand and let them lead the conversation, which has been great for a lot of people. I know
Yeah.
you've helped me with the newsletter in the past,
Yeah.
so that's been great, and I've had people help with social and editing in the past as well. So I definitely love to open it up to others when I can.
Yeah. It definitely provides a great opportunity to put on your resume as well. Um so also I didn't know that when you hosted like the out of state events that you weren't there. I always thought like you were just flying there and just like
Oh no.
hosting it. I did not know that till now.
I'm at home on standby, just making sure everything's going well.
That is funny, but that I feel like that puts even more like effort into it. Like you said, like having to make sure everything goes smoothly from home, like that can be very much of a challenge. And to do that, I think that's really, really amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, with graduating from Oregon with a journalism degree, in marketing, how are you able to tie the journalism, marketing, and social media into one? And what led to these? I guess, well, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what led to your own personal interest in all three of those?
Yeah, so there's always journalism no matter what you're doing. So you need really strong writing skills for journalism, and that's something I still do now. Especially with social media, I feel like it's really important. A lot of
Yeah.
times that's concise writing, so your journalistic skills really need to be on point. If you're writing a caption for Instagram or tweeting something that's even shorter characters, so just making sure you're getting to the point. And even diving into TikTok now, people's attention spans are really short. So if you're creating visuals, just making sure it's really eye grabbing, you have a good hook because I feel like my journalistic skills are always there. And even now, just hosting the collaborative virtual sessions, I still get to tap into that broadcast side, but not do it fully. So I think that's still fun to sharpen my skills. And with my interest with all three, I really just like connecting fans to brands and really honing in on that storytelling aspect. That's something I've always enjoyed. So whenever I get to make a moment for someone or write a story or do something that really stands out for someone to really amplify that brand, that's something I really enjoy about marketing, journalism, and social media.
Wow. Yeah, it's very interesting when I think about just the many facets that sports media has, because I thought just journalism was going to be it. But like you said, journalism is kind of playing a role in every aspect of that, like social media and marketing. And so just tapping into all of them, it doesn't mean you have to put yourself in a box for just one. You can always tap into other ones and kind of combine them in one. So I really enjoy that. I really like that aspect of it. I didn't realize that for the longest.
Yeah, and even with marketing, I hear so many people say they don't have a marketing degree, so they can't work in it. I'm like, I don't have a marketing degree, but all the degrees are similar and have similar components. Like in PR, you're writing press release, so you can use that journalism background to tap into that writing. So everything intertwines beautifully.
Yeah, it really does. All connected in some kind of way.
Exactly.
With so you're doing that for content creation, but you also have food reviews as well. Tell me how that started and just your whole journey with that process.
Yeah, so I have a food blog on Instagram called Sid ATL Eats, and I actually started that the day I graduated from college because I
Oh,
realized I was always posting what I eat anyway. So I was like, I'm going to a steakhouse to celebrate graduation. Let me just start this page and post my meal that day.
there we
And the
go.
Atlanta food scene is really popular. There's a lot of people out here. So it
Mhm.
grew rather quickly, and I eventually turned it into business. I remember the first time a agency reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, how much do you charge for a reel?" I was like, "Wait, people get paid for this?" I was fine with just the free food, but then they were like, "How much
Dang.
do you charge?" I was like, "I had no clue people were even making money off of this." So I've been
Yeah.
doing that for 3 years now and just highlighting restaurants in and around Atlanta, and it's really fun. I get to practice my content creation skills and always come up with new ways to create reels and engaging content. So I've really enjoyed showcasing different restaurants and different cuisines around the city.
Yeah, they're always very interesting to watch. So I'm like, okay, let me put that on the list and put that on the list. I think there's one you went to in my neck of the woods, Twisted Taco in
Oh
Fayetteville.
yes, yes, twisted taco's so good.
Yes, I haven't been there in years, but that made me want to go back to Twisted Taco
You
when I
gotta
walked.
go.
Yes, I have to now. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And so I'm like, dang, this girl's doing everything. She's doing the food reviews and she's doing the sports and she's doing the collaborative. I feel like that's just kind of what goes to show that when you're blessed with so many interests, you don't have to just pick one. You can, as long as you're passionate about it and you have a plan to kind of put it into fruition, it can work out the way it needs to work out. You can get paid for it. People can start seeing it, admiring your work, and you can just put it out there and inspire other people as well. So I feel like just seeing you with all your different passions, as someone who loves almost, I don't know, can find any passion in everything, find any interest in everything, and feel like, oh, I can do this, I can do that after watching someone else do it. Just seeing you being able to pick that up and just fly with it is really inspiring for me. So I enjoy that.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. But I will also say everyone's bandwidth is different. Like
Yeah.
for me, I really like to stay busy, so I can do a bunch of different things at once. But someone may be like, "Hey, that's way too much. I'll just do two things." So always just keep it in mind. What you see someone else doing may not apply to you or vice versa.
That's true. That's true. Definitely everyone has their own path and lane. So it's like you said, just because someone else may be able to do all this, juggle all of this, they might have that grace and the bandwidth to do that, but that doesn't mean that you have the same tolerance. Like you
Right.
might do it all and be like, oh, this is just not I don't know how she does it, but it's like, well, this wasn't for you to do. Like you have your own thing, um, but like stay with your own thing. You can still discover different things along the
Exactly.
way, but it doesn't mean you have to tap into someone else's, ability. So I like that you mentioned that as well. What are some things that you feel, or what is one key thing that you feel like Oregon in general has prepared you for in the real world, but then also the track and field team has prepared you for in the real world?
Yeah, so on the journalism side at Oregon, they did an amazing job of preparing us for the real world with having interacting with real clients.
I
So
like
in the J school, they're really heavy on interacting with local businesses. Like a lot of the advertising and PR classes work with a lot of local businesses, theaters, and so forth to put together campaigns. In my senior year, I was part of the Bateman competition team, which is a national competition by Public Relations Student Society of America. And we had a brief that we worked on for about 6 to 8 months. It was this huge campaign, and that's something I took with me to Turner, and not a lot of other people had done. So just knowing I could walk into the workforce, having this previous client experience, knowing how to write a press release, putting together a brief, managing a campaign for several months. I think they do an amazing job of preparing us to step into the PR, advertising, and journalism world. And then also the track world opened up a ton of opportunities even when I was there. For example, I got an internship with Fidelity Investments while I was on the track team, which had nothing to do with my career, but Fidelity is a huge brand in the investments and financial world. And even just getting to work on some marketing stuff while I was there, I helped them with some social media content. So just being able to put that on my resume and working with other athletes at the time. And also, I did so many things through the student athlete development team. I went to Indianapolis to visit NCAA headquarters. So I think
that.
that team at the University of Oregon does a great job preparing athletes for life after sport.
Yeah, those sound very great, especially for, I guess, early on graduating and getting back into the real world. Those definitely do seem like some really nice concepts and really key essentials to prepare you for job life and just real world opportunities. So it's always nice when university is able to provide that for you.
Yeah.
So we're down to the last, well, we're past time, but it's okay.
I'm
We've been
having fun. It's okay.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I love when the conversations are able to stretch out this long, or just for how long they've been going. It's been really nice, really fun. So my last question that I ask everybody on here is, if there's one key piece of advice you can give to an athlete or aspiring industry professional, what would it be?
I always say this, but it's my favorite piece of advice. Shoot your shot. The worst someone could say is no. And I'm
Mm.
very keen on that. You never know what could happen if you just ask for help or state what you're interested in. And if someone says no, that's not the worst thing that could happen. They can point you to someone else who may have better advice or can help you. But if you're afraid of a no, then you're never going to get anywhere, because all of us have heard no's throughout our career, athletic and academic. So I would say shoot your shot. The worst they can say is no, and you never know where that could lead you.
I like that. I feel like I've been taking a lot of opportunities to shoot my shot this year. But even just reaching out to athletes, reaching out to you and other people, asking for help, or just asking if they would like to come on my podcast without even having physical evidence of a podcast when it first started. It's like people have been eager to do it. And I'm like, oh, well, this is this is nice. And I wouldn't have never thought that that would have happened. Or even just job opportunities, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, hiring managers, professionals, asking for phone calls, coffee chats, things like that. People will actually respond. Not everybody, but some people will actually respond and give you the time of day. And so, like you said, just shooting your shot and just taking the opportunity, seizing that moment, it can't hurt you. So you might as well do it. You never know what it could lead to.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking when you were first thinking about launching your podcast. I was like, I know it's kind of scary to reach out to people and you don't have proof of anything, but they'll come once they hear what you're about and really like your product.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate that. I was like, okay, make sure I get her on there as well because I really want to talk with her and just get her insight on not just the business industry and sports, but also your journey in life. So I really do appreciate you coming on here to talk with me.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. You're doing a great job with your podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, and also I want to shout out your podcast. Your podcast is Time Out, right? With Aaron and Sydney and Aaron.
Yes, and that is on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts.
And then also your socials for the collaborative and then your personal socials as well.
Yes, so the Collaborative LLC, we are on YouTube under the Collaborative LLC, and then on Instagram at the Collaborative X. And in the link in bio, it has all of our social platforms. So you can click on the link tree and find what works best for you. My personal Instagram is Sydnee_Walker, and I'm on LinkedIn as Sydnee Walker. So please shoot me a DM. I'd love to connect.
Thank you so much again, Sydney. I really appreciate this and really had a great time.
Me too. Thank you so much, Micaiah.